Hello, Hazard from Rose Reviews here, and well, let's get started. After 13 years of between films, James Cameron has released Avatar: The Way of Water. Well, considering it took 12 years between Titanic and the first Avatar of James Cameron directing things, I guess it isn't too surprising. Not to say he hasn't been doing some stuff. I mean, he's produced quite a number of films like The Leader, Battle Angel, and Terminator Dark Fate, and he's directed quite a number of documentaries. But yeah, he's back after a long hiatus on the big screen, and here we go. But first, I mentioned about my thoughts on the first Avatar. Now, I've known about this film for ever since it came out. I remember the commercials, but obviously I was 10 years old when it came out, so I never watched it. In fact, I only just saw the first movie this year. I just saw it, and I was like, on TV, and I was like, you know what, I just gotta get it done, especially with this sequel coming out. Not to say I haven't been told what it's all about, and okay, I've seen parodies of it. So I finally watched it, and yeah, I don't really like the first film. It's just your basic story that we've seen so many times. You know, Pocahontas, Fern Gully, Dances with Wolves. But yeah, it's just outside of its look, which is great, and I'm sure it looked really good in 3D. It's just very predictable and kind of forget. You're just like, oh my god, you're really going to expect us to like that? You know, we know what it is. So, but it turns out Cameron wasn't done with the world of Pandora, and he has brought it back to create a 5-film franchise out of this. Oh boy. You could at least wait till after you've got through this film to see if it's worth it, though he has said the 5th film can only depend on the box office of this and the 3rd film, so only time will tell. So, what is the premise? So this takes place years after the first film, which obviously makes sense. Jake Sully has settled down with life with the Na'vi and has formed a family with his wife Neytiri. They have, which is pretty diverse actually. They have 3 naturally born children, though because Jake wasn't technically born a Na'vi, they are half breeds apparently, because they have fewer fingers. Alright, I guess that makes sense, and trust me, there's a lot more that doesn't make sense. They also have an adopted daughter who was born out of the comatose body of Jake's mentor from the first film, the Sigourney Weaver character, even though her Na'vi form was never pregnant, and I don't get it. And they've also adopted a human boy who was left behind after most of the humans were kicked out of the planet after the events of the first film. So yeah, but in total, Jake's has settled down well and has trained the Na'vi in protecting them from future human raids after they've returned to the planet to try colonizing again. After a different substances, I should say, or colonizing, you know what I mean. But all that changes when the colonel of the first film, played once again by Stephen Lang, is resurrected as a Na'vi and plans to kill Jake as revenge. Jake, fearing, and after capturing the adoptive human son, who turns out to be actually, Lang's, the colonel's son, estranged son that he left behind. Again, how did that end up happening? Yeah, never mind. Jake decides to evacuate his family from the main Na'vi tribe to one of the water tribes in order to seek shelter. All while training, and once they arrive, they're going to train themselves and become part of the water tribe while avoiding drawing the attention of the colonel. So yeah, the story is better told in my view. Honestly, though it's still. We'll get to the main thing with it. I will give credit. I did find the story a little bit better than this, because it's not exactly, Pocahontas and Pocahontas territory. But with that said, there is a lot to like. There is a lot of things that make this film a little bit better. Well, much like the first film, the look is fantastic, as is the 3D. In fact, I honestly think it looks better with the what they do with the water. It is fantastic, and I like the 3D in this a lot, and I really do enjoy the look more. I mean, there's something about, I don't know, trees and all that, trees and mountains and skies, well, basically trees all the way, is not the most visually appealing when compared to, say, water and that. So honestly, it does look good on that. And one of the things I really did enjoy from the first movie was the improvements of the lore, which I like from the first movie was the lore of Pandora. And, they're still doing a lot of lore building with this, and I like that. It's really good. So yeah, there's some great thing. I just like listening to how this planet works and all the unique features and wildlife. That's one of the best things of the original Avatar. And, they carried out of Way of the Water. Way of Water. Gee, why I keep saying Way of the Water? Just it makes more sense to me. I will give credit, and I like the scenes with the family scenes most of the time, when the family is together and how they act like a family. Even the adoptive children, they all just feel close knitted. It's a shame we don't see much of their grandmother, Neytiri's mother, but it's just. But yet again, they do have to evacuate pretty quickly when the colonel captures his son. But yeah, and you can tell all the actors in this do a really good job. Not just the returning ones like Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, and Stephen Lang, but also some of the new ones. I mean, Kate Winslet plays the wife of the Water Tribe's chief, and she does a pretty good job. I really enjoy a lot of the actors for the kids, actually. I mean, Brighton Dalton, I think he plays the second son, natural born son of Jacob Neytiri Locke, I think his name is. Yeah, he does a good job. As does Trinity Jo Lee Bliss as Took, the young daughter, the birth daughter. Perhaps the most strangest one, actually, is Sigourney Weaver, back again after her character was killed in the first film, as her own daughter, and she's a teenager. Yeah, okay, that is strange, but for some weird reason, it actually works. I actually like Sigourney Weaver more in this, honestly. Somehow I feel like she is given more of a all-rounded character, and I get the feeling that Kiri, that the character's name is, will be integral to the future sequels. Especially when we get to we'll get to that. There are a lot of other things I like too. I like that look, there is still a substance that the humans are trying to get in this, but at least in this case, it's got a better name. I forget what it's called, but it's no unobtainium. Oh my god, that was one of my biggest issues with the first movie, was the name of the substance the humans are after. Unobtainium is one of the stupidest names I've ever heard. And I know a lot of people agree with me on that. And additional thing I want to give praise is, obviously, is the music. Now, obviously, James Horner passed away in 2015, so they had to get a different composer. So one of the people, they brought in one of Horner's disciples, pretty much, in Simon Fraglin. I think that's his name. And he does a really good job with his score. It matches the scale, it remixes old themes, and it's a really solid job. Definitely well done work. And I hope he goes on to create his own path, But yet again, I have problems. And yeah, there are some major issues. Okay, so while I do say I think the story is better, given that it's technically hiding away from the threat you've dealt with in the past, it's still basically a don't judge premise. I mean, many people all agree on the lesson. In the first film, it's don't judge. We all know it. We've seen it in so many movies. And while this film tackles it a bit differently, you still can't get past the fact that it still is the same premise. So yeah, you gotta remember that. But perhaps the biggest problem for mine as a story is, now one of the main, obviously with the first film, you can tell that the film was leaning towards the lie reveal cliche, which I'm going to be honest, it is one of my is one of the cliches I get the most infuriated at. But but with the story you kind of expect it, even though I can have never mind. But in this film, that's not the case. We don't get that, which is good. Instead, we get the prejudiced parent or condescending parent who won't listen as hard on his child, and yeah, that's it's another cliche I don't like, and it can go. While you can get it right, like Stoic in the How to Train Your Dragon films, he is probably one of the best because he feels more three-dimensional. You can get it wrong, like I think in South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, and they get it wrong in this with Jake and his and Locke. My gosh, Jake's attitude towards his second son is oh my god, I didn't like that. I just can't stand it. Look, I understand he screws up and Benny feels like an outcast, but again, that's similar to what Jake was like in the first film a bit. So this is on the same levels as, say, someone like Simba treating Kiara in Lion King 2 Simba's Pride, in my view. But honestly, that felt a little bit better. Maybe because I watched it as a kid, but I'm a grown adult, and I don't know, this just doesn't feel right to me. Especially how he treats the rest of his children and how he feels towards him. And not even Neytiri tries to step in. Come on. And another thing there's also, of course, there's some other things too, like this film isn't explain things I need to hear. Like, how is it that the daughter of Sigourney Weaver's character is even born in the first place? How does her deceased comatose Navi form get pregnant and give birth to her? Why do they bring back the general? How does he come back? And why does he even have a son? I don't even get it. I don't think he would have even bothered having a child when he was there. Why? Why? And other things too, like I don't know, some of the some other things that obviously don't feel right. Like I don't know, just why are humans Jesus. There's just some things they don't explain. Okay, I'm just trying to think because there's so many other things. Like, oh yeah, when the Colonel gets a hold of the bird, the flying bird from the first movie that Jake trained on. How is he even able to figure out how to do it? Like, I don't know. It just seems so strange. He didn't get trained. His own son didn't say anything. Outside of just don't use guns to kill it, like or tranquilize it, like that. Jeez, I mean, some things like the only thing they sort of explain is this whole whale thing that Locke bonds with and why he's an outcast. That's the only thing I think they explained that I can recall. And certain other things too. And especially at the end, well, because now it is hinted they know. Now, it is revealed that Jake and Neytiri know that their human adopted son is the Colonel's. And I don't know. I get the feeling at the end there's a decision that Neytiri makes. They thought that Spider, that the kid's name is, that they call him. Why? I don't think I get the right reaction to him later on after the climax. So yeah, there's that thing. Again, as I said, I'm a little bit confused as to why they brought the Colonel back to life in this when none of the other characters do. I just don't see like that can work. Human technology, I don't think can fit that, and it just doesn't seem right. So yeah, there's one thing. So hey, if Xehanort can come back so many times in Kingdom Hearts, I guess this can work. I think the climax is weaker compared to the first film. Although I will admit, one thing I did like in this with the Colonel is when he sees his the skeleton of his human body from the first film, how he just crushes the skull like that. That's a good thing. I like that. The two birth sons of Jake and Terry look almost identically the same, because I was watching this with a friend in theaters, and he complained to me the following day about how they look pretty much the same and it's hard to tell them apart. And at first I could agree by the height. I'm kind of picking up more on it. Yeah, there's not too much of a difference, and first time viewers might feel that way. And then of course you get to the major emotional moment in the climax. Look, I don't feel anything with that, because the character in question, I'm not going to reveal what happens. You don't spend that much time with him. It just doesn't make any sense why I should feel that way. Just because of the emotional reaction to it, and how that goes back to the condescending father trope. Like, again, I just don't get it. Yeah, it just, I was like, yeah, come on, really, we're doing that. And yeah, so again, look, I didn't really go into this film with any high hopes with this, and in many ways I did get an improvement, and I do like it slightly better than the first film, but it still doesn't do much with me. I don't really think this is a good movie still. If I get the feeling this movie's going to be very divisive, I reckon those who love the first film will most likely like this, and especially those who've been waiting a long time for it, while others are going to be, they're not going to like it. I don't know if there'll be a middle ground. There may be a middle ground in this, I don't know. But yeah, this is going to be a very interesting film to see what the majority of, not the critics, but what the majority of, fans and, the common, the general public think of it. So, I guess in many ways you could, it's not gonna hurt if you go see it. Although, I reckon I think it's still worth considering, thinking about, whether you want to see it in theaters or wait till it comes out on DVDs, TV, Disney Plus, whatever, you know what I mean. When I get, yeah. So my score will be 4 out of 10 half stars. And look, I know, again, I'm going to be interested to see what the general public thinks of this film. The average moviegoers, whether they like it or not. And I reckon there is going to be a about 50-50 split. So yeah. But with that said, that's the end of all my movie reviews in theaters in 2022. 18 in total. Jeez, that feels a lot. I know there's still going to be more movies to see next year. For the Marvel movies, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, this Willy Wonka film, and one film I'm going to watch next year that's going to get released right around Boxing Day this year is that Whitney Houston movie. So yeah, and there's about to be a few others I might take a look at. You never know. I have to keep a close eye on things, and what I hear comes out that could intrigue me. I love when I go in blind with certain films. Maybe I might try and see if I can watch some Australian films next year. But with that said, one thing that might come up in the future in terms of films, this is one thing I might get to eventually, that's technically released this year, that I might review next year, is with streaming service, and that will be Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. But okay, I might still watch it this year, but there's a fair chance I'll review it next year. So just saying about that one. But yeah, in terms of movies and theaters, I'm done for this year. Wait till next year. And of course, I've still got 3 more reviews left to do for Christmas of 2022. And then I definitely feel like I need to take a break. Yeah. You gotta recharge. Plus, it'll fit considering what I gotta do. But I'll explain that when I get to that video. But in the meantime, this is Hazard from Hazard Reviews out. and I shall see you for the remainder of my Christmas videos. Ciao!